am super excited about the talk today. It is called Going Out of My Mind, which I know is really going out of my head, but you know I'll change any words I want to, and those fit perfectly. So our talk is going out of my mind, which of course we in Science of Mind know is absolutely impossible. You can't get out of your mind because mind, as God, as law, is an aspect of all that is. And so we are talking about mind as soul, as law, but we are playing with the word mind with words and phrases that we found fascinating, we found mind-boggling, and we found a lot of fun in. So we're going to start with the idea of, these are a lot of sayings that you maybe have said, maybe you want to continue saying them, maybe you don't. We're going to start with that one where we say, my mind went blank. And I know that quite often we think of that as a negative. However, I don't think of that as a negative. First of all, I find it quite funny when it happens to me. I sort of enjoy it, so I imagine it'll probably continue to happen since I'm creating a welcome space for it. But I also think that it's a great place to be, because when you feel like your mind went blank, it means that you can place into that blank, fill in the blank, with whatever you want to. Now, how great is that? Fill in that blank with whatever you want to fill it in with, whatever serves you well. We actually talked about this idea. I don't think we used my mind went blank, but we talked about it in meditation class this week, which was a wonderful session. The group there, great group, and we had lots of wonderful conversation and meditation. And we talked about how it can sometimes be challenging to enter a state of a blank mind, a place where we feel mindless and thoughtless. And the truth is, we're never really mindless as humans, and we are never thoughtless as humans. But we can enter a state of mind where we are not engaged in conscious awareness. We can have periods of time where we are not aware of any stimuli, be it external or internal.
Yeah, so it's really balancing, isn't it, between mindfulness and mindlessness. And Wayne set us up perfectly for that with the Tai Chi idea of balancing. And we go into meditation, we release everything that's going on around us, all the chitter chatter and distractions all around us, to center into a place of within. And so we could say that we're going into mindlessness, so we go into mindfulness. We create a void in which that which within us can fill that void and speak to us. So it's a matter of going into attention and awareness. So we're taking our attention and awareness off of everything that's happening around us and putting our attention and awareness on what is happening within us, at the core of who we are. It reminds me of that saying, and maybe you've heard this, I have half a mind to. That's generally a statement of frustration. And I suppose if you have only half a mind, you're going to be frustrated quite often. It's a statement of non-commitment and being undecided. I don't exactly know how I'm going to respond to this. And so I have half a mind to do this, maybe not. I don't know what I'm going to do. You know, the world doesn't know what's going to happen to you. You make up your mind. In fact, Raymond Charles Barker says that God doesn't know what's going to happen until you make up your mind. So there's another catchphrase that we use quite often: make up your mind. Make up the conditions that you wish to experience, so you can actually know what you are going to experience. What are your desires? Quite often we don't know what we want. What we need to know, we need to make up our mind, make up the elements or the direction of our mind to be able to follow through.
Therefore, when we make up our mind, we are creating a mindset within ourselves. And this mindset is made up of a collage of the beliefs that we have. And since our beliefs are creative, we then set that law of mind in motion. Ernest Holmes says that mind is both conscious and subconscious. The conscious mind is spirit, and it's spirit whether it's universal in God or whether it is in us. And unconscious mind is the law of conscious mind acting. Now, I think those words are really the crux of science of mind. I'm going to say them again. Unconscious mind is the law of conscious mind acting. So, as I said, when we press the thought into the law, into mind, it takes action out of necessity. It has no choice. That is its job. That is what it does. Mind is simply potential energy, and our thought is the force which produces the activity for manifestation in our lives. So this is where personal responsibility comes into play for us. We get, and I use that word very specifically, we get to determine consciously what we produce. And it's a privilege, it's an honor to have this privilege where we can think thoughts that create consciously, where our thoughts that we orchestrate produce manifestations. And so we want to produce manifestations that are in alignment with all the good that we want, joy and peace, all the ideas that are of the nature of God. And that occurs first within our own thinking.
Yeah, I like that idea of we get to do this thing, and it also is more important that we remember that we can do this thing. We can choose the direction that we want to go. This idea of having a mindset, I think, is a contradictory kind of idea because, it's if you set yourself in one direction, set our mental compass in going only in one direction, and refuse to accept anything that would pull us off of that path, we have to remember that we're living in a realm of infinite possibility, and sometimes more possibilities come to us, but we are ignoring them because we are set in this one direction. We're setting intentional boundaries and not allowing other things to manifest around us. Well, that's good, and that may be limiting for us, so we have to balance it out. Sometimes it's pretty inflexible. We can also use the mindset in terms of the idea that I am dedicated and committed to moving in this direction, and nothing is going to pull me off my path. That's a very positive idea. Nothing will pull me away from my intended purpose.
That idea that the mindset is directed thought.
Yes.
So today we have at our fingertips the ability to access information regarding any and every topic that we could possibly imagine, to type into that little Google. And while this can be helpful, have you ever noticed that it can sometimes drive you out of your mind? Or even drive you into a sense of worry or concern or anxiety, because what you learn are ideas that you hadn't possibly imagined, and you don't really want to be aware of them. You don't want those to be the activity of your mind. And so I recall when I was first told that I had cancer, and I called my girlfriend and she said, "Don't Google it." And I said, "Okay, I won't." That was pretty firm. Good advice. Don't Google it. Stay in the frame of mind that you have chosen from the moment that you heard those words, and don't let loose of it. Make your decisions along the way, but keep that frame of mind where you know it needs to be. Because often the first thing we do is Google something to research it, and then we get more information to find out what's going on or what's going wrong, and it just validates the negative that we truly do not want in our life. So it's important for us to stay aware. Sometimes we're better off to create that mindset of directed thought so that we are choosing our manifestation. And when you stop and think about it, I mean, when I was thinking about that, and I thought, wow, that's what I did. And it's pretty powerful to go back and look at how many times you can remember where you have used your own power of mind to create what you desire in your own life.
You know, I'll make an observation about that too. And I remember when the doctor told Deborah she had cancer, and she said, "Oh, okay." And he went on and started telling her all the dire things about it. She just got, "Okay," and he said, "I don't think you understand me. I'm saying you have cancer." And she goes, "Yeah, I heard you." And it's like she just wasn't accepting all the negative around it at the time, and I believe that's one reason why she recovered from it too. It's all about directed thought. It's all about where we place our thought energy. We know that thoughts are energy, and not every thought that passes through our mind is worthy of concentrated consideration. And when we persistently and habitually think in specific field of thought, or areas of thought, we attract residual energy from thought conditions around us, attracting like energy from similar conditions around us. Those things can build to obsessions, and even to the point of creating dendrites in the brain, so it's actually becoming hardwired, a physical aspect of our being, and manifesting in physical conditions. In so doing, we're likely unintentionally creating false realities, which is basically another definition for insanity. This can create fear, worry, doubt, so on and so forth, and even manifest as physical pain, hives, paralysis, fill in the blank. In this case, going out of one's mind is a result of holding thoughts in the mind, in the back of the mind, in our unconscious mind. I found this quote from Alice in Wonderland. I think it's perfectly in line with that. The little girl just could not sleep because her thoughts were way too deep. Her mind had gone out for a short stroll and fallen down the rabbit hole. We tend to allow those like thoughts attract to us, and before we know it, we're falling down the rabbit hole, seemingly unable to get back out. But we can get out of the rabbit hole. That's important to understand. We simply have to turn around and hold positive consciousness, positive thoughts, positive ideas. We have this phrase we use in Science of Mind, I heard Deborah say it earlier today, holding the high watch, in which we sit and we think, and we do not allow any negative thoughts to flow into our mind. We hold only that which we wish to experience, that which that we desire, and nothing else may enter. Coming back to what I was talking about earlier in terms of only holding a limited parameter to enter into our thought processes. We only allow the good. I think it's interesting that we never say, "I'm going out of my mind because I'm obsessed over positive thoughts." We're happy to let positive thoughts snowball, aren't we?
Yeah, so we have to look at how we become obsessed with positive thoughts. And I know obsessed isn't necessarily always a positive word, but in this case it is. We want to be obsessed with positive thoughts, not to the point that it brings any concern. So I would say that this is very individualized, and I would invite you now to open your own mind to what pathways have brought you to a place of positive thoughts. What pathways have helped you be obsessed about the positive? So of course, you know, I'll share mine with you. And once again, like the title, I see and hear things in my immediate environment that I just switch to whatever I want them to be. Not to the point that I don't understand reality, not to the point that I'm not aware that there is something that needs to be dealt with, but to the point where it cannot influence the cells and the thoughts that are going on for me. So one of those ways that I've done since I was very, very young has to do with the Cinderella movie. Had absolutely nothing to do with the guy and the girl falling in love, had absolutely nothing to do for me with the magical fairy godmother, but that the fairy godmother was the thought process through Cinderella believing and accepting that created. And there's a song that they sing that I know it's a love story song, a love song for them, but for me it was ever so much more. It was a love story for me with the universe and with God. It's called 10 Minutes Ago. Have you heard of it? You remember it? Anybody remember Cinderella? No, you don't sing around your house, do you? I sing this song to David all the time, and he goes, honey, those are not the words. Well, they're my words. So some of the words, and I know some of these are right, maybe not all of them, but the idea that the room had no ceiling or floors. I am dancing, I am flying over mountain and river and stream, and I like it so well that for all I can tell, I may never come down again. I may never come back to earth again. Now, that song for me gave me a lot to think about for the ideas and the feelings that it invoked within me, for the way that I wanted to understand those words, the way that worked to keep me personally grounded in the goodness of life, in the grace and the love of life. Not necessarily the way the author intended them, but it always had me feeling connected to a higher power, kind of a floaty feeling, a weightless feeling. And in a mind space where there is only the absolute, and I am of it. So regardless of what other ideas were coming into me for the way religion was, I was using songs like that, and still do today, to keep myself grounded in the knowing that there is only one life, and I am of that. I need to be personally responsible for my own part in the way that I show up, so that you feel that absolute, and the wisdom of the divine expresses through us. I personally think of it as an ethereal state of consciousness, that state of consciousness that is an energy. So what leads you to enter into the heavenly state of consciousness? Those are the ideas that you want to hold on to. Maybe it's a song, maybe it's a baby or a pet, a picture in your own mind, using our imagination to create that heavenly state of consciousness as often as we can until it's just a natural habit. It's a pattern in our life.
To coin another mind phrase, there's a saying, playing mind games. And I really believe this is what Deborah's talking about in kind of twisted kind of a way.
With herself?
We usually think of playing mind games as manipulating somebody and making them think one way or another that will serve us. But maybe there's an idea of playing mind games with ourselves and manipulating our own thoughts, conditioning our own thoughts to be able to achieve that which we wish to experience. And so, you ever had that saying in your mind, what was I thinking? I have this saying that I say quite often, I can't believe I used to believe that. It's because I find these points in my life where I look back and I say, I remember what it was like back in the day when I felt this way or believed that way, and oh my gosh, didn't like the outcome of that. Now that my thoughts have changed and now that I'm more positive, I can't imagine going back to those times thinking the same things and experiencing the same things that I did back then. Now I have a different understanding. because I have conditioned my mind to not allow myself to go into those spaces. And when I do, I have a great partner who can hit me over the head with a 2x4 and remind me the truth of who I am. I think we lose sanity over things that don't really matter sometimes. In fact, we lose sanity over things that don't even exist except in our own mind. I heard this recently on social media. It is amazing how many people are ashamed of their body and how few of their minds. That's a great statement, isn't it? We don't realize that the things we think about are the reasons that we are the way we are, physically, mentally, and otherwise. Mark Twain says, age is an issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. And we can change age for just about anything, any condition that we're having a challenge with. I believe that mental health is our most valuable asset. In fact, I don't think it's only our most valuable asset. It is the one thing that really matters.
So as we conclude today, let us know that we can never truly go out of our mind, because mind is all that is. And mind is something, and the way that law works and the way that God is something that I personally want to share with the world and want to practice for the rest of my life. Don't have a choice anyway, but consciously. So the eternal life is the activity of the mind as one life, including each one of us as a soul body, as a subtle body. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And in absolute conclusion, I'm going to play a mind game with you, and you can take it or not. The choice is yours. Let me remind you to open your mind and make up your mind to create a mindset that blows your mind, because you can't get out of your mind, and you deserve the best mind over matter provides. And so it is.
So it is.